Episode 7, Bring the Knot Part 1. The Rope Scar. Festival morning leaves behind the smell of hinge milk and clean chalk, like a kitchen after a long day that didn't burn. The ridge looks undecided. The river doesn't. She wrote her line yesterday in all our bones. Bring me the knot that makes we out of ye. We start where we always start. Doors, drains, rails, rings, because answers arrive better to hands that are doing something useful. Khumalo writes the day like a shopping list for gods. Find the handler. Left thumb, rope scar at web. Weave the wee knot, sun, iron, moon, tone, water, milk, earth, chalk. Spillway at dusk. Bring wee knot, 7 anchors, bells on wrists, no singing, no second touches. Under it, the small line that lets rooms breathe. If it tries story, give it receipt. We split by habit and fate. 8:10. Admin side corridor. The gentian violet we mixed into yesterday's hinge milk tells the truth without speech. A thumbprint blooms on the alarm pull cover. Fresh purple on the plastic lip. Smudge on the underside edge where a hand that knows tools doesn't respect covers. The print is wider than Calypso's. The crescent solder scar is missing. Instead, there's a pale rope burn at the web between thumb and forefinger, old and proud, the kind you get from fly lines and stage rigging and nets tugged fast. Handler, Boosie says, in our house before dawn. Nandi 2 hovers, streamer pointing like an honest dog. Thandi keeps flat under the hum. We bag the cover after an inside dust snip. The mug eats the sulk. Kwanda's sun crack brightens and cools on cue. Label. Admin pull rope web print. Next dots, Khumalo says. Follow the purple. We walk the map we laid in dye. Music block pull. Clean, archives vent guard. 1 violet thumb brush on the screw. Laundry tap. None. Arts cupboard latch. 2 prints, twin flourishes, show off pressure. The handler's path zigzags like a person trying to teach the building music while we were asleep. Streamers? De Klerk calls from the quad. Pulling to arts, Thandi answers. The drone bell gives one neat, useless chime. We find him where hands go when they think walls are instruments. The black box. The side door is wedged at shin height with a laminate that says, Maintenance in a font our school never liked. Inside, the flyloft ropes hang neat and vain. On the bench, clear polish, steel wool, nail buffer, a tin of adhesive, and a pile of Riverstone charms opened and gutted like fish. He's rinsing his left hand under the utility sink. The purple refuses the tap. He looks up with a grin his mouth doesn't believe. Adult. Stage rigger's back. Shoulders that built sets for other people's applause. He's been on campus a long time as a fix-it. Pay on invoice, answer to facilities when lights misbehaved. Eyes that see ceilings first. Morning, Mr. Jonas. Khumalo says, the way you greet a neighbor you caught moving your boundary fence by an inch. Hands where the room can see them. He freezes half a beat, then does as told. Left thumb up. Violet to the wrist. Rope scar pale in the web. He takes in our circle like a director blocking a scene he didn't book. Earth with chalk, water with smoke, moon with flat, sun with a bowl, witness with a mouth she's chained, headmistress with a pen that can end a day. What do you reckon you're doing? Boosie asks, not unkind. Seats don't sing here. He hesitates between 2 lies and chooses truth's cheaper cousin. Tuning, he says. This house hums at 400 hertz like a secret. I thought, if we gave it strings where it wanted strings. He stops. The way people stop when the sentence was beautiful in their head and ugly in rooms. You gave children lines, Nandi says. You tied music to mouths and told them it was work. You slipped magnets over mask beads. You moved tag to bowl and called it clever. He shakes his head once. No one was going to get hurt, he says, and the room does not accept that event as an option anymore. Ring, Boosie says quietly. We chalk the circle on the theater's scuffed deck. Ugly. Whole. Sifo lays smoke like a sheet over a drum. Thandi holds flat until the rafters confess they are timber, not throats. I warn, if outside, ink only, because my jaw is a child we keep on a leash. Kwanda sets a mug by the coil of fly rope nearest Jonas's hip, where a snap would love a kidney if feelings were allowed. Jonas watches the choreography, and his face does the sober thing. You're making furniture out of a story, he says. It isn't contempt, it's grief about himself. I like story. We like alive, Khumalo says. Outcomes, receipts. He looks at Kwanda then, lingering where a certain kind of adult looks when he wants to say he knew your father. He closes his mouth on that mistake and looks at me instead. Is your jaw as sore as it looks? He asks, not like a creep, like a tech who notices a load on a girder. My jaw is a budget, I tell him, and you've been spending other people's. He nods once. He is not the devil. He is a person who loves rooms more than children. Outcomes, Khumalo says. She reads them from a sheet that sounds like Mercy holding a hammer. Work, not theater. Door lips on the music block and black box, drain grids at backstage sinks, bell wrist steward at festival for 3 days. No adhesives, no polish, no magnets, no frames. No unsupervised access to pulls or vents. Room ethics with Nurse Nandi. Public apology to the students listed on the DIY roster. If he returns a frame to any wall ever, he will be escorted to the road and handed to town for trespass with a note that says dangerous with nice ideas. He almost argues. He almost doesn't. Then he nods. I can weld lips, he says, half to Naidu, who has appeared in the doorway like a man whose heart is a spanner. You will weld lips, Naidu says. He passes Jonas a mask with not a mouth chalked across it. Practical poetry. Jonas glances down at his left thumb. The purple looks like a bruise he earned. And he nods toward the fly loft. The hum, the house does sing at 400. You'll never teach it not to want to. We'll teach it boring, Thandi says, gentle for once. You can help, with ear, not string. He breathes out. It's a kind of yes. We bag the polish and steel wool and hand him a crate labeled lips. He carries it like a penance that will build something solid. Handler neutralized, Boosie says to her clipboard. Not enemy, hobbyist, with rope scars and bad taste in verbs. Receipts, Khumalo says. Now, the not. We take the art room because it has big tables and no nostalgia left in its walls. The we not cannot be a poem. If it is a poem, the river will spit it back. Pieces, Boosie says. Sun lays down iron. 3 lengths of soft chain, thin enough to braid, thick enough to hold, dampened with a dish of hinge milk until they smell like shut doors. Moon brings wire, copper stripped from a dead panel, tuned with a tuning fork to a pitch below 400 so it cancels, not sings. Water brings reed cord soaked in river water and milk, cut clean, knots counted under breath. Earth brings sisal rubbed with lime and chalk until dust lives in the fibers like manners. At 10. I'll witness, I say. It's not laziness, it's the job. Ledger wants signatures, not feelings. We make it in 4s. Core, iron chain with wire run through the links so moon rides sun without argument. Wrap, milk-soaked reed spiraled sunwise. Every third turn bound with sisal chalked ugly so Earth gets to say no in the build. Knots, 4 sun knots spaced like anchors along the length. Rays short, break deliberate, 1 ray turned inward, but we don't tighten them. We teach them by hand and leave them ready to learn we. Who signs? Thandi asks, because the part that matters isn't material. It's mouth. Houses sign, Nandi says. Friends sign, elders sign. Students who nearly died and students who refused song sign. We do do not collect a crowd. We collect a we that can carry. We pass the ledger page beside the knot. People write small. Sun, Zulu, Kwanda, hold, not door. Moon, Thandi, flat, not choir. Water, Sifo, low, and earth, Busi, ugly saves. Witness, Esona, small mouth, receipts only. Headmistress Khumalo, no second touches. Us, Nandi, milk on hinges always. Naidu, lips welded ugly. Mokoena, present, no abstain this time. Naledi chalk, not theater. Caletso, work, not frames. Jonas, ear, not string. First-year choirmaster who stopped himself. No songs. We stop before the page turns into a parade. We is a number that can stand up without looming. Test, Busi says. We tie the we knot between two trestles, low enough to shame pride. Drones hover far back like dignitaries with good sense. Thandi sets flat. Sifo lays thin smoke along the length and watches how it drifts around the knots. Kwanda stands with his palm near the first sun knot, mug posture without a charge. I put my jaw on iron through cloth and warn my bones before the room learns to eavesdrop. If outside, I whisper, ink only. We pull gently. The wire hums below, hearing. The chain doesn't try to be a song. The reed wants to remember the river and decides it is rope instead. The chalk in the sisal smells like walls that stopped knowing things. The sun knots don't turn eye. They sit ready for we. Good, Thandi says, quietly pleased. It cancels. It doesn't call. Carry, Busi says. 2 on each end. Sun is last to hold. Kwanda nods acceptance of the insult that isn't won. He takes the tail with hands open, his sun crack brightening just enough to tell us the knot knows him and is not hungry. He doesn't look at me. He doesn't need to. The rule rides the room like a handrail. At 12:15, a green bead pops out of the drain by the quad and writes, good in 2 dots and a smear. We chalk not a mouth over its lips and pour a coin of milk for manners. Mamlambo has an accent you can taste. Today it tastes like deadline. Spillway at dusk, Khumalo says. We go sunwise. Bells on wrists, drones high, no singing. If it tries to spend our touch, we say no in a sentence the river respects. What sentence? I ask. She points at the knot. We will not prove love by opening. We will carry, not call. We log the line. We eat the kind of lunch that sits even when the day doesn't. Jonas welds lips with Naidu, watching every bead. Caletso sizes bell wrists and keeps his purple thumb visible on purpose, which is a better apology than most words. Naledi chalks not a mouth on the arts cupboard latch 3 times and then hands the chalk to a first year, which is how you pass a law. We put the we knot in a crate lined with cloth wet from the hinge milk. Bells tied to wrists, drones loaded, litany printed plain. At the gate, Nandi touches the crate and says the sentence that makes work holy. Boring saves. We lift. The road to the river is short when a school walks it like we. The sky doesn't perform. The wall doesn't hum. The drain doesn't spell. This is either good news or the way all good news starts. Part 2. We on the apron. Dusk arrives like a well-timed knock. No drama, a request. We carry the we knot down the slope in a crate lined with cloth damp from hinge milk. Bells on wrists, not ideas. Drones up. Nandi, 1 at the lip. Nandi, 2 at the gate. Streamers on, hoppers full, bells polite. The gate stays open. We chalk the double ring ugly and even. Not a mouth across the spillway lip until the concrete looks lectured. And then. Placements. We say them out loud so hands remember. North, cast iron bowl upside down, earth spike seated, ground line clipped. South, 2 milk jars, lids off, cloths folded. West, truth folder closed, ribbon tucked. We will not fish for gossip. East, inner ring, witness me. Right of witness, sun, Kwanda, hands open, mug ready. North rim, earth, boosie, chalk and lime, bone shears. Sha. South rim, water, sipho, impe hifo tin cracked, low smoke only. West rim, moon, thandi, panel flat under hum. Center, headmistress. Chair outside outer ring. Elder Mokwena, sitting. We set the wee knot on 2 low trestles inside the outer ring, not bridging the drain, not touching water. It sits like a rope that remembers 4 hands. Rules, Khumalo says, so the concrete hears it too. No singing, no names that open, no iron on water. Witness small, ink only if asked. Sun holds last, not first. No second touches. We offer iron milk truth, then the knot. We move like a drill we've already paid for. Iron, Kwanda plants the earth spike at the apron's north seam and clips his ground line. The cast iron bowl goes upside down. No mouths toward water. Milk. Sipho pours a thin line along the outer ring without splash. A coin on each hinge of the chain link gate. Truth. I place the folder on the west mark, ribbon tucked. Not for gossip. For receipts. Knot. Boosie lays the wee knot across the trestles inside the ring, not bridging the throat. Chalk marks at 4 sun knot stations along its length. Thandi sets flat until even the birds decide this isn't a song. We ask to speak, Khumalo says. The spillway face lifts a finger width and remembers how to be skin without being a mouth. Letters slow right where light likes to settle. Iron milk, truth, knot. Khumalo nods once. We brought the knot that makes we out of I. The surface pulses like a breath held and released. It doesn't reach for us. It listens. Boosie taps the first chalk hash on the rope. Station 1, she says, and puts her palm near the first sun knot, not touching, letting the chalk see her hand. Station 2, 3, 4, I say, pointing them out so the river can count the shape with us. Khumalo. Protocol for we. We do it in 4s like we built it. 1. Earth steadies the rope with 2 fingertips above knot 1. 2. Water lays a breath of smoke along the strand, not into it. 3. Moon holds flat below the drone's hum. 4. Sun opens a hand to knot 1 after the others. Palm a handspan off. Mug posture, not grab. 5. Witness says small. We will carry, not call. The rope answers with the quiet a room makes when it remembers its job. No music, no pull. The sun knot does not flip inward to I. It sits like a hinge that knows shut. Ding. The water skin writes a new line. Assess. Show all 4. Copy, Khumalo says. We repeat at station 2. Earth 2 fingers. Water smoke. Moon flat. Sun hand open, not touching. Waiting last. Me. We carry, not call. The rope stays boring. The drone streamers ignore us like good saints. At station 3, the air tries a trick. The pressure tilts toward Kwanda's wrist, polite as a thief. It wants to make him first on instinct. Sun as spear point. He doesn't move. He waits after the other 3 have laid their parts. The sun crack brightens a hair and cools, without taking a load he wasn't offered. No second touches, I say out loud, not for the river, but for the law we made. The skin of the spillway learns that sentence and folds it somewhere useful. At station 4, the river gets impatient in the way of old things. It reaches sideways, not water, not hand, pressure, to nudge my jaw toward outside. The taste of ink sparks in my mouth like a match you didn't strike. Decline, Khumalo says, the way you'd say step away from the stove to a child you love. I keep my mouth cheap. We will not prove love by opening, I say instead, the litany like a wedge. The pressure backs off, the knot stays rope. The skin writes 1 approving word. So, good. Then a second. We. It's not a congratulations. It's the test we knew was coming. Proof, Khumalo says softly. Make we visible. We sign it on purpose, all at once, without touching each other. Earth presses dusted sisal tight over Station 1, and ties the outward ray to the next pair's inward ray. Cross brace, not a bow. Then, water dampens that join with hinge milk, so iron remembers shut more than shine. Moon keeps flat through the whole breath, so no one mistakes this for a chorus. Sun breathes in slow through his nose, keeps his palm a handspan off, and lets the knot notice him without needing him. I read the receipt because rooms need witnesses. Sun last, not first. Earth ugly, not pretty. Water low, not loud. Moon flat, not song. Witness small, not hero. The surface smooths. It writes the litany back to us, which isn't something water often does. He carried, you eat your part now. You will not prove love by opening. We say amen in the only way that keeps us safe. We do nothing dramatic. Next ask, Khumalo says. Will you take a taste of the old knot so we can seat we in its place without opening? The skin pauses. The drones tinkle once, unhelpful. Filings dust at the flag cleat 200 meters away quiver, like hair combed by memory. The river writes carefully. I take echo only. You keep bill. If boy breaks, you stop. Deal, Khumalo says. Echo only. We stop if he breaks. She looks at Kwanda without making a moment out of it. Son? Ready, he says, and I watch the way his throat does not move. He puts his palm out to the knot the way a person offers a horse their hand. Not a second touch, not a grab. An offer. Sifo lays a thread of smoke along the rope. Thandi pushes flat until the panel might as well be marble. Busi plants her boot against the trestle leg like an anchor whose name is Busi. I set my jaw against iron through cloth and say the small sentence again. We will carry, not call. The spillway skin leans. You can't see it if you're watching water. You can feel it in your teeth. A length of pressure lifts off the world, tiny, mean, like the weight of a swallowed word, and falls into the wee knot. It lands at Station 2 first. The rope would like to sing. Moon holds flat and refuses. It wriggles toward Station 3. Water cools it with milk breath. It tries Station 1, the old way. Sun first. Sun stays last. The knot sours on that plan and looks for we instead. At Station 4, where we tied outward to inward, it settles. Not like a tenant, like a bag of sand set down where a wall needs it. The drone streamers don't so much as shrug. The iron bowl hums a little through the ground line and then stops. The sun crack along Kwanda's radius takes a new hair of light and then cools, the kind of branch that happens when you work, not when you hurt. The river writes, Net, enough. We all breathe because breathing is free. Seated, Khumalo says, make we part of the map. We lift the we knot by its four corners, 2 on each end, sun last, not first, and carry it sunwise along the apron, then uphill to the flag cleat. We do not touch the rail. We lay the rope along the wall like a child's arm pressed to a parent's. Busi bruises a line of lime under it, ugly as law. Sifo dabs hinge milk at each tie. Thandi keeps flat until the windows nearby give up on being instruments. Kwanda stands with his palm out, not a second touch, and lets iron learn the smell of we. Filings flutter out of Nandi 1 and land around the knot in a familiar star. 4 rays, break, inward ray. But the inward ray doesn't eat itself this time. It rests against the cross brace we tied. Not I. We. Back on the apron, the skin writes the thing we came for. Receipt. And then, because rivers are old and honest, bill. We don't ask for a number. We know the currency. Terms stand, Khumalo says. Milk in drought, iron at festival, truth when asked, no opening to prove love. The skin smooths to water. The The drones tinkle once. The milk line dries white and ordinary. We pack the trestles. We coil the knot's tail into the crate like a patient animal. We walk sunwise back up the slope in silence, which is the only song that fits. At the gate, Boosie chalks not a mouth on a scuff someone's elbow left. Sifo pours a coin of milk on the hinge because hinges backslide. Thandi writes no singing small on the inside of her wrist because habits wake early. I put the truth folder under my arm and carry it like a tool, not a relic. Kwanda clips his ground line free and winds it without looking at his arm. Rule holds, I say. Rule holds, he answers. We get as far as the quad before the ledger writes by itself in patience. We not seated, echo taken, no openings, Bill continues. We don't cheer, we check doors, drains, rails, rings, like always. Part 3. The night, the storm counted fingers. The first thunder is polite. One knuckle on the rim of a pot. No lightning yet. The ridge puts its shoulder to the sky the way a man settles into a load he didn't choose. We do the list because the list is what keeps names off stone. Bells to wrists. Hinges get milk. Drones up Nandi 1 at the flag cleat. Nandi 2 at the gate, streamers on, hoppers full. Anchors 7 walked sunwise and bruised with lime where the day scuffed them. Workshop doors check lips welded, paint ugly, good. Bright room lime quiet, cabinet braced, bowl upside down. In, we not seated along the cleat run under a stripe of lime, cloth under its belly still damp with hinge milk. Don't wait for drama, Khumalo says, pen capped in her hand. Pretend it already happened. Set your scene for boring. We pretend well. At 1910, the air goes metallic. Nandi 1's streamer tugs toward the flag cleat and then straightens. The wee knot eats the echo the way a good stitch eats a tear. Flat, Thandi says. She lays the pitch over the quad until people sigh without knowing why. Impundulu try manners first. 2 silhouettes cut low along the ridgeline, wings wide like a bad idea in a new shirt. They don't stoop. They test. The hum at the rail lifts to 400 hertz and nudges at song. Not today, Thandi says, and sets flat half a hair below the school's favorite sin. The rail shrugs off the note like a child who finally met a boundary. Nandi. Boosie bruises the cleat seam again with lime for spite. Sifo wipes hinge milk along the base of the flagpole so shut can smell itself. Kwanda stands a handspan off the wee knot with mug posture and his palm open. Last, not first. The sun crack along his radius throws a thread of light and rests. Sir. The birds wheel away without making a sermon of it. Alarm pull, admin side, 1940. The cover we marked, not a mouth yesterday, thinks about being interesting. Nandi 2's streamer points at it like gossip. The screw lip shines with the last of someone's clear polish. Violet stain in the edge where our dye told the truth earlier. Oh, ring, Boosie says. Chalk, smoke, flat, worn, mug. I don't go outside. It would be delicious to take ink like sugar and make the plastic confess. We do it with shears instead. Inside dust, ping, mug eats the sulk, bag, label, ugly saves. Handler's out of tricks, Naidu mutters, then corrects himself. Handler's out of these tricks. New? Jonas is there, sleeves rolled, rope scar purple to the wrist. He doesn't offer a trick. He offers felt. He steps to the music block panel and glues a strip along the inside edge so the case stops wanting to sing when thunder has opinions. Ear not string, he says, like a prayer he wrote for himself. Rain starts in straight lines, laundry corridor. The grid sings for a second, then remembers it's bolted and not a mouth. Atokoloshe tries the bars, smells milk, and rethinks his evening plans. We owe yard crumbs. We will pay that debt when the world isn't busy. Oh, chapel ramp. First year's practice elbows out past the not-a-mouth letters until the words wear fingerprints. Ceci. East stairhead. Do not grab so fat it offends anyone who likes nice things. A prefect touches it with her palm, then keeps her hands where the room can count them. Bells on wrists make no sound. Sa. Drones loop their routes and spill filings where Pole tries to write. At the flag cleat, the filings lie down like hair that met a comb. At the gate, the streamer points nowhere in particular, which is all we asked of it. Bright Room 2025. The lime hums the way a fridge hums. Honest, unromantic. The cabinet that holds 7B doesn't rattle. The ledger lies face down like a cat. Then the lime does a tired thing. A darker vein runs under paint from cabinet to skirting, not opening, just thinking about it. Offer iron? Nandi says without raising her voice. Kwanda sets the bowl upside down at the north of the room and clips the ground line to the spike we keep planted in the skirting. Sifo lays a breath of smoke on the baseboard. Thandi drops flat so the fluorescent tubes stop fantasizing about being choirs. Boozy chalks a ring around the seam and bruises it with lime until even nostalgia can't get a grip. The wall remembers it is paint. The vein rests. The room breathes boring again. Ledger, Khumalo says. It flips itself without theatrics and writes in small hand. Then, we holds. Do not spend jaw. In bossy book, I tell it, and it does not disagree. Gym bleachers, 2110. A pack of seniors has their bell straps on ankles because they're funny when they're scared. The bleachers hold their echoes. Floors like gym floors love song. Thandi gets there before the note does. No singing, she says. The humor dries. They remember their wrists. One boy, Siswe Sun, grins at a girl, Amale Water, and does a clever little clap that answers itself off the wall. It's not romance. It's someone liking his hands too much. The echo comes back sharp and tries to become a string. Aunt. Ring, Boosie says, chalking the step beneath him before he even knows he started something. Not your clever, Sizwe. Our clever. He flushes, shoves his hands in the pockets the school keeps sewing shut, and nods. The echo skates off the ring and dies. No harm. The lesson costs only a cheek. Bells to wrists, Thandi says, less gentle than she could be. Boring to hearts, Nandi adds, and Sizwe smiles at that, because it is both a joke and exactly right. 22 o'clock. Lightning finally chooses a line. The first strike pops beyond the ridge, not near. The rail wants to shout in sympathy. The wee knot eats the thought without needing to be dramatic. Nandi 1's streamer dips and lifts. Filings spill along the flag cleat seam and decide to lie down. Hold, Khumalo says, as much to us as to weather. A second strike heads for the chapel cross and misses because iron has a taste now and it prefers hinge milk over glory. The sound rolls through the quad like a truck full of bowls. The pressure tries something new. It slides, not at the wall, not at the rail, at us. That little nudge it used at the spillway, the one that wants to spend a second touch between two people who won't. It tests our seam. It picks me and Kwanda because we look like a cheap door to a lazy god. Decline, Khumalo says, already stepping deeper into the center of the bright room like a doorframe with opinions. We decline. He keeps his palm a handspan off the rope. I keep my jaw cheap. We say the sentence that saved yesterday and will save some other day too. We will not prove love by opening. The room learns it again. The storm counts on its fingers and finds none to pull. The sun crack along his radius throws a new hairline of light and rests. My iron welt under the jaw warms 1 second and cools. That's the price, and we paid. Arts Corridor 2230. Caletso is at his post with the bell wrists crate, purple stain still loud on his left thumb. He has the patient face of someone who hurt us and is trying to be better in public. A younger kid barrels past, knocks the crate. Bells clatter. One cuff flips and rings against another. The corridor feels the shape of ring and tries to answer. Ring, Boosie says another kind, and chalks hard across the tile. Smoke, flat, worn, mug, boring does what posters don't. Calypso takes the cuff, ties it back on his own wrist, and says to the boy, "Hands are mouths." It lands. The boy blushes and learns. We don't need a sermon. Die. 2340. The music block door lip we welded this morning wears fresh paint and pride. Jonas runs his fingers along the felt he stuck to the panel earlier, listening with the part of his skull that has always loved rooms too much. You want a job? Naidu asks, like a man offering a dog adoption instead of an evening out. We can teach you how to love ugly. Jonas nods once. It's not atonement. It's work. He brings a stack of burlap and helps Thandi stuff it into the crawl space above the practice room so air stops pretending it has a future in harmony. A first year peeks in and says, "But sir, tomorrow." No singing, Thandi says, without heat. After term, when the river signs off, you can have a concert for your mother in this building if this building learns to keep secrets. That satisfies him the way truth does when you deliver it without cruelty. In the bright room, the ledger writes one line at 0:10 in an adult hand I recognize as its best manners. We held. No openings, no songs. Across campus, the spillway answers with nothing. That is the shape we asked for. It's the sound of a bill paid for one more night. We do the last loop. Registry. Zizi sleeping, no latch to tempt him. A Kona human, spoon hung on a ribbon as a joke that isn't a joke. Lindaiwi left a note. Boring works. Laundry, grid bolts warm under fingers, milk coin at the bottom step replaced. Chapel, candle under reset morning. Still a promise, not a mouth. Roof, the halyard cleat, the wee knots run, the lime stripe, all as we left them. Nandi won on station with a streamer that hardly lifts. Admin pull. Cover remarked not a mouth in ugly marker, because repetition is what makes a thought into a habit. The storm stumbles off behind the ridge like a drunk who remembered his address. We don't believe it until the crickets come back with the confidence of people who survived history. Khumalo writes 3 lines on the board before we sleep. Storm held. We not seated. Rails quiet. No mouths. Handler. Jonas. Assigned work. Calypso steady. Die tells truth. No outside, no second touches. Underneath the litany, we earned the right to say again tomorrow. He carried, we eat our part now. We will not prove love by opening. In my doorway, Kwanda does his one touch of presence on the frame and leaves it there. His palm smells faintly of hinge milk and iron. The sun cracks shows that new hairline branch and decides not to be dramatic. Bill continues, he says. Receipts too, I say, tipping my chin at the board and then at his arm because I am incapable of not being rude to fate. Rule holds, he says. Rule holds, I answer. We sleep facing the hall. Bells on pegs, drones on charge, milk drying at hinges. The wall under lime resting like a good stove, hot when asked, stubborn when not. The river keeps her front door closed and our names legible. Part 4. Small debts, plain receipts. Morning smells like damp lime in kettles. The ridge is a tired shoulder. The river keeps her face to herself. That's the shape we asked for. The board gets the spine before porridge. Storm held. No songs, no openings, we not seated, rails quiet. Handler, Jonas, assigned work. Student, Calypso, steady at bell wrists. Next, pay small debts. Test we not in daylight. Confirm 7 anchors. Prepare ask at low water. Under it, Khumalo writes the sentence we lean on. If it tries story, give it receipt. We make good on our mouth. Sifo packs 2 pieces of vet coke in a tin with a chalked label, not a mouth yard only. We set them at the back fence on a brick, outside any drain. Boosie circles the nearest grate with not a mouth for emphasis, then draws a tiny arrow to the brick and writes, "Here so a creature with pride can pretend it can read." Something short and sure-footed blinks under the shrub and waits for us to walk away before collecting payment. We walk away. The grid doesn't rattle. Cheap piece, properly paid. Flag cleat, 910. The wee knot lies where we left it. Chain core, milk-damp cloth under its belly. Lime stripe along the seam, ugly enough to teach. 91's streamer lifts, thinks better of it, and rests. De Klerk taps the rail with a rubber mallet like a doctor. Filings in the hopper don't bother. And day holds, he says, riding quiet in a box the size of relief. Thandi sets a thin flat. Kwanda stands a handspan off the knot with mug posture. The sun crack throws the new hairline bright and cools. No hum tries to be choir. Boosie thumbs the lime stripe. "If you want pretty," she tells the rail, "register for art class." The rail chooses safety. Workshop 10 o'clock. Doors now wear lips like stubborn chins. Naidu runs an inspection with the tenderness only angry men have. Jonas welds the music block lip under supervision. The rope scar on his left web still washed violet. He doesn't ask for fresh paint. He sands it ugly and leaves it ugly. He gives a brief apology on the quad bench at break, standing beside the crates, not on the steps. He says, "I loved rooms more than children this week. I'm sorry. I'll fix what I taught wrong." No theatrics. Nandi nods and writes apology received without a flourish. Caletso sits at the bell wrist's table with his purple thumb visible. He has a list of sizes and a patience we can use. Bright room, 11:30. Lime quiet, cabinet asleep. Bowl upside down at north. The ledger flips itself with discretion and writes, "We not seated, echo seated at station 4, rail stable. Low water ask window, late afternoon. Tide terms, river mouth. Bring iron, bring truth, bring we." Under that, a smaller line for my eyes. "Don't spend jaw today, save for ask." Bossy, I tell it. It does not disagree. We check hinges, milk thin. Thandi tapes our festival litany below the cabinet in a hand the room can read if it tries to perform. He carried, we eat our part now. We will not prove love by opening. The cabinet does not rattle. Good. Drone pass, 12:20. Nandi 2 sweeps the gate. Nandi 1 traces the flag run and the east stair head. Streamers are lazy. Good. At the chapel ramp lip, the streamer lifts and points to the handrail end cap. A neat circle of metal that likes to dream of being a mouth. Butaiz chalks a ring around the end cap and labels it, "Not a mouth," in letters the size of a shirt. Sifo lays milk on the joint. Thandi holds flat until the ramp minds its manners. We log ramp cap tempted. We do not act surprised. End caps love drama. Staff room, 13 o'clock. Elder Mokoena brings a thin folder, the descent page we didn't find. Not the original, a copy she made at home years ago. She put it in her grocery file because that's where she keeps things she cannot afford to lose. It says, in old teacher hand, "Rotate, designate quarterly, lay loop off campus, never anchor to school, never place a knot where children learn to reach." It's stamped, received, and initialed by someone who didn't read it. Receipt, Khumalo says, and signs acknowledged with a date and a signature that will be public. She doesn't tangle it with apology in the wrong place. She staples it to our minutes with the care of a midwife. Small paper. Heavy weight. Admin pull. 1440. The cover we remarked "Not a Mouth" has a new hairline drilled at the far edge. Fresh, tidy, rude. The violet stain on the plastic lip is faint now, scrubbed. There's a second faint mark. Right index tip, no scar, glue shine on the whorl. Copycat, Thandi says, or an admirer. Outcomes don't change for admirers, Nandi says. Ring, smoke, flat, worn, mug, cut inside dust, ping, bag. We add right index glue to the label. Naidu adds cover screws with tamper paint so anyone's hands will advertise themselves. We put the sign back in fat marker, not a mouth. If you paint a law often enough, it becomes a wall. Ridgeline 16 o'clock. Clouds stack low. A wind change makes the blue gum leaves show their pale undersides. Inkanyamba, the storm serpent, doesn't show its head, but the ridge behaves like a story it knows well. Thandi hums flat and doesn't break eye contact with the sky. Kwanda checks the wee-knot run without touching it twice. Boosie smears another lime bruise along the seam for spite. Sifo pockets a jar of river water and a length of wet cloth. We do work like a prayer. Low water, Khumalo says, checking her watch and the slope of shadow in the spillway mouth. We go. The spillway apron is dull and patient. We make it ready without performance. Double ring chalked ugly. Bowl upside down at north, ground line clipped. Milk coin at each hinge. Truth folder open to the dissent copy with acknowledged stamped. We knot coiled in its crate, inside the ring, not bridging any mouth. Placements as always. Chair for Mokoena outside the outer ring. We ask to speak. The surface lifts into skin. It doesn't make a face this time. It writes one word long. Why school? We answer with receipt, not speech. Khumalo holds up the dissent copy with acknowledged stamp today. We have the paper that said don't, she says. We ignored it. We used a rail in a school. That was wrong. We have corrected the record. We have laid a wee knot to eat the echo that boy carried alone. We will not open to prove love. We will teach boring instead of theater. The skin writes a smaller question. Who pays? We, Khumalo says. Houses, staff, council, students, town, with money and hands and time. The boy does not pay alone. When? Now, Khumalo says. And at drought, and at festival, and when you ask. It thinks if water thinks. Then it writes, bring me the name that lied first. We don't pretend not to understand. Elder Dube signed no lasting imprint into the safeguard, Mokoena says from her chair, hands on her knees. Not dramatic, a name on a bill. He's home. He will come when called to this ring to answer why with his mouth. I will fetch him. The skin writes the thing it always wants from us. Receipt. We will make one. Another line appears, sharper. And the wall, where he sleeps keep, it painted boring. Teach your we to walk without song for 50 days. 50 days, Khumalo repeats, pen already ticking the calendar in her head. We can do that. We will write it on the board and make wrists ringless when they forget. The surface flattens. The ask is logged in our bones. We coil the wee knot back into its crate. We don't touch it twice. We chalk not a mouth across the lip again, because water respects repetition. On the slope up, Sifo says, 50 days is a season. Enough to reset a school, Thandi says. Enough to make boring a habit, Boosie adds. Enough to keep me alive, I don't say out loud. Khumalo writes the day into law. Low water ask met. Dissent acknowledged. We not accepted. River terms bring Elder Dube to the ring. Keep wall boring. No song for 50 days. Bells on wrists, not ideas. Admin pulls. Tamper screws painted. Right index blueprint logged. Ridge. Inkanyamba watched. No call. Anchors firm. Then larger than everything else. No singing for 50 days. He carried. We eat our part now. We will not prove love by opening. Students read it and groan the way people groan at vegetables. They also stand up straighter. A first year starts to hum and then remembers out loud, 50 days, and puts his hum away like a knife. Naledi takes a box of chalk and starts adding not a mouth to any place that even looks like it might audition. End caps, pulls, vents, hose cupboards. She hands sticks to first years. Teaching is a chore, not a role. Amy. Jonas drops a sketch on Naidu's bench. A felt baffle pattern for the music block that won't turn air into a choir. Ear, not string, he repeats, making the sentence into his own litany. Naidu circles later and points to door lip backstage. Work first, save the clever for when rooms behave. Side. Caletso writes 50 on his wrist in marker and ties bell cuffs without being asked. The purple trace on his thumb is nearly gone. He doesn't mind when someone sees where it used to be. Young. Dusk again. The quad is quiet in the way of places that learned a lesson. Bells hang on pegs, leather curled like sleeping snakes. Drones charge. Milk dries at hinges. In my doorway, Kwanda does his one touch of presence on the frame. He doesn't step over. He doesn't say anything that needs a river to hear it. 50 days, he says after a while. 50 chances to be boring, I say. His mouth almost smiles. The sun crack shows its new hairline and behaves. My iron welt under the jaw warms and cools once, like a stove that knows the recipe. Rule holds, he says. Rule holds, I answer. We sleep facing the hall. The ledger leaves its ribbon marking the page that says, "Bring Elder Dube." The wall stays paint. The rails stay quiet. The river keeps her front door locked and our names legible. Part 5. Summons and small weather. Morning makes room for errands that decide futures. The river's ask sits on the board like a bill. Bring Elder Dube to the ring for why. Keep the wall painted boring. No singing for 50 days. Under it, Khumalo adds the day's spine. Draft summons. Receipt, not theater. Escort to Dube. Witness houses. Campus, hold 7 anchors, feed boring. We split, half to the road, half to the rails. We write the summons the way we write chalk on concrete. Fat, legible, dull. Venue, spillway apron, double ring, gate open. Date time, tomorrow, low water, 1630. Stow. Purpose, why of no lasting imprint safeguard. Correction of record, public receipt. Rules, no singing, no opening, iron/milk/truth provided. Sun last, no second touches. Witness ink only if asked. Signatories. Headmistress Khumalo, Elder P. Mokoena, Town Safety Chair, Council Clerk, CC'd, Witness, Notary Mark, Earth/Moon/Water/Sun. Operational Custodians. I stamp it with the Academy's dull seal and my witness mark. Not romance, receipt. Nandi folds 1 copy for the folder, 1 for Dube, 1 for the notice board. We pin the board copy with a brass tack and write in marker above it. This is not a poster, this is a bill. Students read, nobody cheers. Good. We go 6. Khumalo, Mokoena, Busi, Earth. Thandi, Moon, Sifo, Water, me, Witness. Kwanda, Sun, stays at school with de Klerk to keep the Weenot company and to save his arm for tomorrow. Jonas and Naidu take workshop duty. Caletso holds the bell wrists table like a deacon. We carry Kid in a tote that's all policy. Chalk, lime, a small iron bowl, a jar of hinge milk, a printed litany rolled tight, and a clean chair. If you bring a chair to a proud elder's yard, you're saying person, not flag. Elder Dube lives in a brick house that remembers meetings. The gate squeaks. Busi writes not a mouth on the post before anyone asks her why. Sifo dabs milk on the hinge. We step in like people who respect gravel. Dube opens with the posture of a retired storm. Tall, neat, eyes that can read a page across a room. He sees Mokoena first. Then his gaze clicks through our kit and lands on the bowl. I'm not coming for a trial, he says. Good, Khumalo answers. It isn't one. It's a receipt. We sit him in the chair outside his own door so rooms don't mistake him for a banner. Thandi lays flat under the eaves so wind can't perform. The smell of milk at the hinge changes the yard's mind about being interesting. I read the summons in plain voice, no decoration. When I finish, I open the folder to the dissent page McQuaina brought, and our acknowledged stamp from yesterday. You wrote no lasting imprint, Khumalo says. The river wants the why. The boy wants the why. We want the why. You speak tomorrow, in the ring. Doob's mouth fights with old sentences. It was a concession to pass the vote, he says at last. Son Master Zulu said the hold would bruise him, not the school. I believed Son would rotate. I believed the rail would be off campus by winter. I believed the phrase would be a bridge. Then we kept the knot, and we kept the man. Why school? Thandi asks, as if she were asking why a panel hums when it could stay quiet. Because the council likes visible discipline, Dubé says, bitter and very awake. Because we thought training under threat makes stronger adults. Because the town wanted safety and didn't want to pay in land. And when the rail sang? Sifo asks, no blame in it. We called it corruption because that was governable, Dubé says. He doesn't look at me when he says it. He looks at his grapevine like it might give him back a decade. Tomorrow? Khumalo says. He lifts his hand and drops it. That's a yes dressed like weather. You will sit, Busi says. We're bringing a chair. He almost smiles. You bring chairs to teach arrogance its place, he says. Good, I taught that trick once. We leave the summons on a table that has held too many cups of strong tea. At the gate, I write not a mouth on the bell pull cord because habit is how safety survives courage. Dubé watches, eyes amused and tired. You've made the boring into a gospel, he says. It pays, Nandi says later when we tell her. More than drama. Back home, de Klerk hands us a map with streamer tugs marked in pencil. Chapel ramp cap tempted twice. Art's cupboard latch thought about being a stage. Residence B great quiet. Flag cleat calm. Bright room vein rested. We pay small debts. Ramp cap. Ring. Milk. Flat. Not a mouth in letters as wide as the slope. Art's latch. Ring. Someone tried a glue shine. Busi scrapes it off with a chisel like bad gum. Tamper paint on screws. Great. A coin of milk for manners. Yard vet coec wrapper folded and binned because even myth respects littering rules if you teach it. A Jonas installs felt baffles in the music block under Naidu's supervision, then writes ear knot string on the inside of the panel case with a marker like someone signing a promise no one else needs to read. Calypso clocks his hours at the bell wrist's bench without drama. His thumb is almost clean of violet. He keeps the bracelet visible anyway. We said we'd show it twice. We keep our own rules. 2 seniors, Mandla, Sun, and Buell, Moon, decide they are smarter than Glow and the beads. They pick the art storeroom because rooms with canvases like to pretend they're innocent. They slip their beads, touch twice in a place that loves echo, and wait to become a better spell. The storeroom does what storerooms do. It turns object into mouth. Bewley starts to blur, edge first, then color. She collapses into a blue rag that smells of turpentine. Mandla does the fast breathing of boys who wanted heat and got physics. The rag tries to slide under the door because rag is an object and objects like gaps. Drone streamer tugs. Nandi too gives a jingle. Busi gets there in 6 strides. Ring chalked ugly across the sill. Sifo presses a wet cloth at the seam with hinge milk. Thandi sets flat so the storeroom forgets it aspired. I set my jaw against iron, no outside, and warn the air like a librarian. Kwanda, called by radio, holds a mug off the floor where Snap would love a kneecap. Mandla keeps his hands where the room can count them. Bole, Khumalo says through the seam, not using our litany words, not asking the wall to be a door. You have to wait. You made a bill. We are paying it. Rag is simpler than cat or chair or tomato. It takes less convincing to let go of being rag. The chalk ring holds the mouth closed. Milk buys the hinge. Flat removes song from the canvas frames. The rag swells, takes back color, fills back into buhl on the floor with the sound a wet towel makes in a basket. She coughs oil and starts crying the way people cry when a secret stops up being a secret. Receipts, Khumalo says, not unkind. There will be detention with Naidu for both of you. Grid bolts, door lips, chalk duty. No pairing for 6 weeks. Room ethics twice. You'll pay boring until your hands learn no again. We note this as example 2 of 2 in the ledger. Bad pair, art storeroom, buhl rag, recovered. Consequence paid. Work, ban, class. We will not make the story about this. We have shown it twice. The rule is real. We move on. Bright room, late afternoon. We paint a 3rd lime stripe where a hairline tried to be memory yesterday. Thandi tapes the 50-day no-song notice to the cabinet facing. Busi writes not a mouth on the alarm pulled twice just to offend aesthetics. Sipho freshens hinge milk. The bowl sits upside down at north like the most patient animal. The ledger writes, us, summons delivered. Do be attending. Bad pair #2 resolved, rag person. Consequence work. 7 anchors steady. We not quiet. 50-day no song posted, compliance 97%. Music block reports 1 hum, corrected. Under it a smaller line like a kindness. Witness. Save jaw. Tomorrow needs you small and exact. I put my hand on my own shoulder to remind skin who owns it. The ledger doesn't purr. It just stops writing. Good. We eat early. We walk the anchors sunwise. We mark a fresh not a mouth on the chapel ramp cap because end caps are needy. Drones charge. Bells hang. Kealitso turns in his crate with every cuff accounted for. Jonas wipes his hands on a rag that is rag and will stay rag. On the board, Khumalo stacks tomorrow's work. Spillway 1630 low water. Bring Elder Doob sitting. Iron/milk/truth. We not present but not bridging. Placements. Houses at the rim. Witness east. Ink only. Sun right of witness last. Chair outside ring. Terms to speak. He carried. We eat our part now. We will not prove love by opening. If River asks for bill beyond our hands, we say no and schedule more boring. She adds, large. No second touches. Ask for the first, decline the second. Live. Dusk comes in without taking off its shoes. The ridge keeps its temper. The river keeps her front door shut. In my doorway, Kwanda rests his palm against the frame. The one touch. There's a scuff of lime on his sleeve. The sun crack has that new hairline you only see if you look for it. He notices me noticing and doesn't make a moment out of it. Tomorrow he says why. He says. Tomorrow we say we, I say. Rule holds, he says. Rule holds, I answer. We sleep facing the hall. Milk cool on hinges, bells quiet on pegs, drones full. We not resting under lime. The summons on the board looks ordinary, which is how you know it will work. Part 6. The mouth that stayed a door. Low water comes in on soft feet. We make the apron ready like we've done it all our lives. Double ring chalked ugly. Not a mouth across the lip. Iron bowl upside down at north with the ground line clipped. Milk coins on the gate hinges. Truth folder west. We not coiled inside the outer ring where it can be seen and not mistaken for a bridge. Bells on wrists. Drones high. No singing anywhere near the word. Elder Doobie arrives in a brown jacket that has heard too many votes. Mokoena walks beside him. We set the chair just outside the outer ring, and he sits like a man who finally understands the point of chairs. Thandi holds flat under the sky until even the reeds give up practicing harmonies. Busi keeps the trowel and chalk ready. Sifo rests one hand on the milk jars like a shopkeeper minding small change. Kwanda stands to my right with his hands open, last, not first. I take my mark and keep my jaw cheap. We ask to speak. The surface lifts into skin without teeth. 2 words form slow and heavy. Who lied? Khumalo doesn't blink. This is Elder Dube, she says. He wrote the phrase, no lasting imprint, in the safeguard. He has come to answer why. Dube's voice is the kind that used to tell adults what to do. Today it sounds like someone paying an old bill. I wrote it to pass a measure that had a life of its own, he says. I believed the hold would rotate among Sun graduates. I believed the loop would be off campus by winter. I believed the words would be a bridge, not a blotter. When the rail sang, I named it corruption because that was governable. It made the town quiet. It made a boy a villain. It kept a school between a river and a decision. The skin writes, why school? Because visible discipline pleased the council, he answers. Because we were asked for safety and weren't offered land. Because I had grown too good at getting things through, and not good enough at stopping them. He doesn't look at Kwanda. He looks at the knot, and the knot minds its business. The river isn't done. Who carried? Khumalo keeps it plain. Sunmaster Zulu carried, she says. He held the knot so the wall didn't open and the town didn't drown. He leaked lightning. He refused extraction because we could not promise it wouldn't open 7B and Sky together. We called it corruption and slept. The surface tilts like a thought. Yeah, correction. Elder Dube nods once, because that word is the only one with teeth he can stand. I will speak it publicly, he says. I will write it. I will sign a line that admits I wrote no lasting imprint as cover, not truth. I will say Sunmaster Zulu held because I asked him to. I will say we asked a man to be the place where we should have been. The river asks the question that doesn't let clever escape. Ini. Who pays now? We, Khumalo says. Houses, staff, council, town. We pay with iron, milk, boring. He does not pay alone. The skin writes a list like a ledger that learned manners. Remove the phrase from your laws. Carve a receipt in stone here. Say his title and what he carried. Lay your we not each festival until 7 rain seasons pass. No song for 50 days. Nah, paint your wall boring. They bring the boy only as son. Last, not first. We nod at each line like people being fitted for something that will keep them alive. Boosie touches her trowel to the ring. Acceptance in lime. Sifo moistens his fingers and smooths the milk edge. Thandi underlines no song with the air. Dube reaches into his jacket pocket and pulls out a paper folded to the size of denial. He signs it in front of water and girls and bells and chalk. Rescinds the phrase no lasting imprint with a hand that shakes exactly once. I don't need to go outside to read ink today. I can read what it costs on his jaw. The river isn't sentimental. Receipt, it writes, not story. We brought one, Khumalo says. She holds up the dissent page from Mokoena with our acknowledged stamp, and then Dube's rescission with his fresh signature. She doesn't add speeches to them. She lets paper be weight. Yind. Water considers whether it has any more questions. One last line forms, sharp as a chisel. And the boy's father. Kwanda's shoulders don't move. The sun crack along his radius throws one cold thread, then rests. Dube answers before anyone can make this a performance. He volunteered because I asked and because he could, he says. He stayed because no one else could hold that much storm and live. I lied because I was afraid of open and more afraid of being the man who told the town we had to pay its bill. I let him be the place where fear belonged. It was wrong. The skin doesn't write forgiven. Rivers don't do that. It writes the one word we've earned this week. Good. Then it adds the line that turns tomorrow into a plan. Tomorrow stone. Carve, he carried, we eat our part now. We will not prove love by opening. Sun Master Zulu designate, Ndiu. Council lied, school corrected. We not laid. No song 50 days, was. Witness small. Sun last, not a mouth. The apron feels like a page that can finally be written on without bleeding. We close as we opened. No second touch is spent. Boozy bruises the chalk ring with lime so the ask won't blow away. Sifo resets the milk coins. Thandi keeps flat until the reeds remember they are straw. Kwanda opens his palm to the we not. Last, not first, and the knot behaves like rope. Not prophecy. I keep my jaw a budget I didn't overspend. On the way up the slope, Dubas stops by the gate and rests his hand near the hinge without touching it. I will bring the stone, he says, and I will pay men to cut it who love letters more than drama. Bring a chair, too, Boosie says with a wicked kindness. Pride sits better when there's furniture. He almost laughs. That is as much absolution as anyone gets from water. The board in the quad turns into a contract while the sky decides about stars. Khumalo writes the spine with a pen that has no time for poetry. Low water hearing held. Doob rescinds phrase. River terms accepted. Stone to be carved tomorrow with litany and receipts. We not to be laid each festival for 7 rain seasons. No song for 50 days. D. 50 counter posted. Wall stays painted boring. 7B closed. Sun last. Witness small. Under it, she adds a line for the people who need something to hold in their mouths when the air asks for music. He carried. We eat our part now. We will not prove love by opening. Students pass, read, and keep walking with their elbows out. The bell wrist's table closes with every cuff accounted for. Caletso locks the crate and writes D50 on the lid. Jonas and Naidu chalk not a mouth on the stone block they dragged from the maintenance yard. The one that will be tomorrow's tablet. Just to start it on the right habit. The ledger in the bright room flips itself with the discretion of a librarian and writes in a small, patient hand. Hearing complete. Receipts gathered. Stone tomorrow. We take our chairs to our doorways and look at the hall like it's a river we learn to cross without making it a god. Milk dries white at hinges. Drones blink green on charge. The we not rests under lime, not pretending to be a miracle. In my doorway, Kwanda places his one touch of presence on the frame and doesn't spend another. They'll cut his title into stone, he says, voice level. And we into the timetable, I say. He nods. Rule holds. Rule holds, I answer. We sleep facing the hall. The river keeps her front door closed, and for once it feels like a kindness.